Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the farm. Thanks as always for joining us. It is a beautiful October afternoon. We're talking about 73 degrees out here. We're hanging with the pigs. Quite frankly, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the future of pigs on our farm. So I thought today, why not hang out here, tell you guys, what our plans are, what we're thinking in terms of our future with pigs here on our farm. So for those of you that are new to the channel, these guys are American Guinea Hog and Hampshire crosses. Definitely a slower grow pig. I've highlighted that in many other videos. Definitely check out our channel, check out some other videos. But that really kind of led me down the rabbit hole of, do we change it up here? Do we go for something a little more substantial in size? The American Guinea Hog genetic is definitely that of a slower grow pig. We were well aware of that when we got pigs here. But I will also say it's an outstanding homestead breed. Very easy to work with, relatively calm demeanor, easy to handle as far as, you're gonna have a smaller pig at processing time. These guys are 10 months old. So your standard 10-month pig would be much larger than this. And quite frankly, it wouldn't even be on your farm at that point. You probably would already have processed those guys off. But these guys are 10 months old. They are putting on some size, but again, this is kind of where I started spiraling my thoughts into, is this really worth pursuing down the road? We already got a ton of pigs here. At some point, do we want to change course a little bit and kind of pivot what we're doing here on our farm? And that's exactly kind of the decision that I've come to. So with that being said, it's time we start making some moves. We got our 6 feeders here. We got one of which is behind me right now. These guys will be processed off at the end of the year. We have them pretty much accounted for at this point. We got our boar who is lurking around back here. He's back in the shade. I don't know if you can see him. Ziggy. This is a tough one, guys. Unfortunately, sometimes farming, you have to make tough decisions, and he's going to be the first one to go. We're actually looking at processing him next Saturday. So he's pretty much on his last leg here for us. Definitely a good boar in terms of reproduction. But again, we're trying to break that breeding cycle now and really move on from these pigs. Eventually, as far as a breed that we're going to bring in, I'm not sure where we're going to go yet. But again, the first step is really break the breeding cycle. That way none of these guys are getting bred. And then we're obviously good to go for a little bit of time. And again, as we're looking at him, sometimes it is a tough decision. He was our first prominent pig here, obviously due to his size alone and personality. But these are the decisions you have to make sometimes. He's also becoming a little aggressive towards some of the other pigs, which, believe me, at times that makes the decision a little easier for us. Well, there's a good example right there for you. And, he's never shown any signs of aggression towards us. Let's see if I can zoom in on him. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to raise out, other hogs as well, you definitely want them to get their fair share of feed. Mainly comes in when I am feeding. He's in here just bullying everybody around lately. So he will be next Saturday. And I can already, as he's coming back down to me now, I can already see questions coming in about boar taint. Now that is an interesting one. I'm not exactly sure what to expect, and I know it doesn't sound good coming from someone who's about to process a pig, but everything I'm reading is that the Hampshire genetic and American Guinea Hog are relatively low in terms of boar taint. You also talk to people and every boar is going to have taint. So it all depends, is kind of what I've concluded. So you might be wondering, why run the risk of processing an animal when they are susceptible to boar taint? Well, you kind of have to weigh your options at this point, is the way I look at it. Like I said, the studies that I've read, relatively low percentages. So you would like to think, you have a crossbreed animal like this, you're going to have a relatively low percentage, low likelihood. We will see. You could easily go and say, hey, why not sell him? Perfectly good animal. We could always do that. It's going to take a little bit longer to get that set up. And, quite honestly, I don't have the equipment to move him. I'm not sure if you're getting him onto a trailer. He's pretty skittish at times. So, I guess suppose anything in time will work out for you. But quite honestly, we're kind of pushing up here into the fall now. I would like to get this moving and really plan for next spring to get our next breed in here, our next pig breed. So that's kind of where we're at. I acknowledge that, we're running a little bit of a risk as far as potentially tainted meat. I do have a backup plan, so I don't want anyone sitting there thinking, hey, we're going to waste a perfectly good animal. There's very, very little waste here in what we're trying to do. So it's really going to go one of two ways. On one hand, we're going to get a ton of meat. I would say he's probably about 350-ish pounds, if not a little more. So we'll definitely fill our freezer there, fingers crossed. And, if unfortunately it doesn't work out for us and it is tainted meat, well, we'll have a heck of a lot of dog food there. We're really not going to waste anything. I know some people might disagree with that thought process. At the end of the day, we did not pay a lot for this animal. Yes, you can run, the numbers and say feed costs over time and so forth. But that's the risk I'm willing to take right now. Again, it's not going to be wasted, and that's the big thing. We want to make sure that we're minimizing waste, doing things as humanely as possible. So it'll still be high quality dog food if that's the way we go here. But again, fingers crossed, hopefully, and I'm feeling optimistic about this. Hopefully, our meat is in good shape here, and we'll be just fine. And then we move on to these sleepy little guys. They're a lot of fun to be around. Obviously, the kids love them. Anytime you have piglets, it's just it's cool to watch them just grow up. But again, even these guys are a month old at this point, you can see, comparatively speaking, with other pigs, they're still pretty small. So you get that small size pretty much from day one. They're going to take a lot longer. We are going to look to sell these guys off here very shortly. And we'll see kind of what we can get for them there. Again, great homestead pig. Just because we're kind of moving away from this doesn't mean that I would not recommend these pigs. So I guess at this point I should tell you guys kind of why we are looking to move away. Like I said before, we are looking to get something a little more substantial in size, a little faster growth rate, feed conversion, all that type of stuff. What we're looking to do come the next year or so is actually sell off a couple each year just to cover our costs, maybe make a couple bucks. So the big challenge with these guys would come in with marketing, and that's really why we're looking to move away. Unfortunately, the average person just isn't going to understand kind of what they're getting with these hogs. I know the quality. Obviously, we processed one last year, and I know how that meat tasted, and it was outstanding. Probably the best pork I've ever had in my life, to be honest. Now, could be a little biased, obviously, and it's also homegrown, so it's going to be better than anything you're pulling out of the store. But I can envision, and when I go out there and try to sell somebody, a half or a whole hog, and they're getting pork chops that are, that big, that's going to be a hard sell. So people are used to large cuts of meat when it comes to hogs. It's just, it's the reality of it. You go to Costco, you go to even Whole Foods and get something that's supposedly pasture raised, organic or whatever, you're going to get a nice sized pork chop. Most of your meat type, we'll call them bacon hogs, they are going to give you larger cuts. It's just the way that they're kind of bred through the years, their structure, their makeup, all that type of stuff. American guinea hogs are a lard pig. I've highlighted this in the past as well. You barely get any bacon on them. There's a lot of definitely downfalls. So it's just one of those things, another reason that we're looking to change it up here. So had I decided that we were just gonna keep it to a couple hogs a year, process a few just for us and family, I would definitely say we'd probably stick with these guys. But we are looking to kind of scale it up a little bit. I'm not trying to sound like we're going into commercial pork production. We're certainly not. But even if we have as many as we have right now, you sell those guys off, you make a couple bucks. It's all good to support the rest of the farm and really keep this whole venture going. With these guys, growing so long, you're talking almost a year. Ideally, you'd want to probably go like 14 to 16 months, and that's just too long. Your costs start to add up. Obviously we're supplementing with free feed and stuff as well, but it's still a long-term commitment. And if you're trying to sell something like that, I mean, that's very difficult to plan that far in advance. Hey, you want to buy a pig? It's going to be a year and a half from now. It's a tough sell. So when I can go to somebody and say, hey, in 8 months, I'll have a hog ready for you, you're interested, that changes the game a little bit. Again, that's kind of the route we're going to go down here. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all about business for us either, because it's certainly not. The health of these animals and the health of our homegrown pork is definitely what matters most to me. It's the whole reason that we started doing this to begin with, is to raise our own food, the highest of quality food that we possibly can for our family, our 2 little ones. Obviously that's how we want to raise them. So, that is definitely priority number 1. We're not going to sacrifice. Again, I know I already touched on that, but it's very important to me. We're not going to sacrifice on quality. They're going to stay on pasture, and, the search for genetics is definitely going to be on. So if you guys have any that you would recommend for us, definitely kick them our way. Drop us some comments. I'm curious. There's some breeds that I'm looking at, and I think there's a lot that are very similar in terms of just overall production. So with that being said, everybody left us at this point. I guess I'm too long-winded, but I wanted to share with you guys kind of what our thoughts were. Relatively short video today, just get it out there that we are going to be changing things up here. It's going to take time. Obviously, this is going to be a process till we kind of work through these guys. Again, I mentioned the end of the year, we will process the 6 feeders off. So we got at least till then with those guys. We got Betsy, our sow here, who we're going to have to make a decision on, down the road here a little bit later. She's still taking care of the piglets here. So obviously we're not going to make any changes with her. But again, next weekend, Ziggy is going to hit the freezer, and that'll be the first step of our plan here to change it up. So exciting, nerve-wracking. You always question, are you making the right decision when you do things like this? I've bounced this one around several times. Even I think back a year ago, I had already kind of thought this one through a little bit. Now we're at the point though where ready to act and ready to make a move forward. So if you like this one, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. As always, drop us some questions and comments. I'd be curious to hear from you guys on this one. If you got any thoughts, suggestions, ideas for us. A lot of people out there raising hogs and looking to do things a little bit differently. So drop us some comments below. As always, guys, we appreciate you watching. Enjoy the beautiful weather. It's not going to last too much longer. Winter is coming. So take care, guys. Have a great week.